So tonight we're gonna be making one of our favorite appetizer slash salads that we make. It's cherry tomatoes, or really any kind of good tomatoes that you like, with burrata, a basil, I'll call it a sauce, it's not really a pesto, and then some balsamic drizzle on it. So super easy to whip up. You can have it as a standalone salad, you could add some protein to it. We typically will do it as like a quick appetizer, but super easy to make, and it always turns out really pretty. All right, so I think the star of the ingredient is burrata. And so as big as we are foodies, I don't think we actually had burrata for the first time until like we hit the road. And I honestly don't even remember where. I think it was somewhere out in California. But ever since I had it, like I try to find it anywhere we go. So if you haven't ever had burrata before, it's basically mozzarella cheese with the center has a creamier filling. So when we were out in Utah, Billy actually bought us a burrata cheese making class. And you basically get all your steps of making the mozzarella cheese, and then before you start stretching it, you save off some of the curds, add some heavy cream to it, and that's actually what serves as your filling, and then you wrap the mozzarella ball around it. Whatever, it's delicious. So anyway, it's one of my favorites, and it goes perfect in this recipe. So tomatoes, also the star of the show. For these, I typically just buy a bin of the grape tomatoes or cherry tomatoes. I like to get lots of different colors just because it makes it look pretty. You can do whatever tomatoes you like. You could do a mix of these, maybe some slices of some heirloom tomatoes. Again, whatever is your preference. It all looks pretty. You only need like a pint to make these, probably even less than that. We just buy such a big bin because I'll eat these things like candy, and then turns out the dogs actually love these. You sit. You good boy. Good girl. Please. So for the basil, I usually just get one, maybe two of these containers. So often I can find the burrata and I can't find the basil, or I can find basil but I can't find burrata. So we're really fortunate we found both. Usually just do two. This sauce, dressing, whatever you want to call it that we're gonna make, it goes great on other things. You can put on other salads, you can put over chicken. So whatever you have left over from this recipe, definitely save it and you can use more of it. So we're gonna start with our basil. What I like to do first is actually just take some of these smaller pieces and pull them off and set them aside, because that's actually gonna make really good garnish for this. But otherwise, we're just gonna pull all the leaves off and we're just gonna throw them into the food processor. I would definitely recommend a food processor, like an emulsion blender for this. Cutting this up, just it won't work. All right, so we're ready to go ahead and get this processed. So right now I've got the basil leaves in here. I've got 1 clove of garlic, just gonna throw that in here whole. I don't measure the rest of any of this. I just kind of eyeball it. And so, like I said, it's not a pesto because I'm not adding pine nuts. Pine nuts, again, can be kind of hard to find, and they're pretty expensive for how little you need. But I typically have some grated Parmesan cheese on hand, so I'm just going to add a little bit of that. We are also going to add a little bit of the balsamic reduction. You can make this, but I actually just buy a bottle of it and I keep it on hand because it goes on a lot of different recipes. But we're just going to drizzle a little bit of this in here. Grab a little bit of kosher salt. And we'll season the whole top of the dish with some more salt, so not a ton here. Just some cracked pepper. And then olive oil. And so this, I'm running out here, so I need to open another one. But we'll start with this amount of oil. This is probably like 1/4 cup. And we will probably need to add more. Again, I want this to be like a dressing. I want it to pour. I don't want it to be super thick like a pesto. See how that looks. So yeah, it looks pretty good. I just want it just a little bit thinner, so I'm gonna add maybe another 1/4 cup. Again, you can do this just kind of to your preference. Blend that together. All right. Yeah, that looks good. Almost like a green goddess dressing. So I'm gonna pour that off into a jar to save. Next up is we are just gonna chop up our tomatoes and we're just gonna throw them directly onto the plate. So when you're cutting tomatoes, you want to use a serrated knife. It's just easier to cut through the outer skin. And yeah, we're just gonna put these around the plate. Nothing fancy. I'm just kind of leaving like a hole in the center, which is where we are going to put our burrata. Now we're just ready to plate. It's super easy. So we're gonna take our burrata out. The burrata it comes in a container packed with some of the whey just to keep it fresh. Just gonna put that right in the center, pack some of the tomatoes around it. I'm just blotting off some of the whey. And then it is as simple. So we're just gonna drizzle some of this kind of all over the tomatoes. Put some on top of the burrata. You can do as much or as little of this part if you like. I like to hit it with just a little bit more, just plain olive oil. All right, I'm gonna drizzle it with some of the balsamic vinegar reduction. And then I like to hit it with some flaky sea salt. Not too much, but. And then a nice hit of some coarse black pepper. Let's make sure I have this on the coarse setting. And just for the final touch, we're just gonna take some of that basil that we saved from earlier, just to add kind of a little pretty garnish to it. And that is our tomato and burrata salad. It's so good. It has so much flavor, but you get each one of the ingredients. You taste the tomatoes, you taste the basil, you taste the burrata. Nothing kind of overpowers the other. They all complement it. Like I said, it's a perfect size side salad. Do it as an appetizer, add some more protein to it. It's delicious. Enjoy.